let me be really clear. I very fundamentally believe we need to have a safety net to help people who cannot help themselves. That's what a compassionate society does. We also need to have a safety net to help people who are gone to their luck, to help them get back on their feet. It's very important that we recognize the fact that the safety net itself is fraying at the edges, that it's going bankrupt. But we don't want to have a safety net that encourages able-bodied people to live lives of dependency and complacency. We want to make sure that people get back on their feet into lives of upward mobility. To help make it easier for people to rise, we don't want to have a system that encourages able-bodied people to think of the federal government as the main provider of their livelihood. Because if we do that, we don't have a dynamic society. We don't have a prosperous society. We don't have an entrepreneurial society. So when you take a look at the choice of two futures, the path that we are on, which is this incredible path of debt, which if we kick the can down the road just a few years longer, we will look just like Europe does today. If you want to take a look at how this kind of path ends, look at Europe today and see the crisis that they're in the middle of. We're worried about Greece going down and then a domino effect hitting Italy, Portugal, Spain, and what that will do to us. We want to prevent that from happening, and it's not too late to prevent that from happening. What our budget does is it caps our debt at where it is, and then it proceeds to pay our debt down over time, never getting above that danger zone, so we can avoid a debt crisis in this country. And if we can avoid a debt crisis in this country, we can actually get this economy growing again. So let me leave it at that. I try to be fairly brief. It's about 20 minutes. And let me just open it up. Vanessa, you're going to be walking around with the mic. Vanessa is going to be walking around with the mic. And just raise your hand. Let's be respectful of one another. And I'll just call on people as we go. I'll just bounce front, back, left, to right. How about the guy in the corner over here, Vanessa? And I'll try to make you not walk too much.
Hi, thank you for coming here, Congressman Ryan. I am currently unemployed in a high-tech industry which has been ravaged by outsourcing, by bringing people in from overseas. I actually trained my replacement.
H-1B?
H-1B. And there are also L-1s are also the culprit. Ronald Reagan said the best social program is a job. How can we keep giving our jobs away that we have to non-citizens?
Let me just write this down real fast. So, especially in these kinds of times, the whole idea and purpose of that visa category is if there isn't a person here who can do that job, then if you need an engineer, a computer scientist, that you can't find locally, then. And so that tells me that's not being applied correctly. That tells me it's not being enforced correctly. So
there are people that are being used overseas for low-tech things like recruiting, testing, things like that. It's just being used to expand the work pool.
So the other thing I would simply say is our tax system. Sounds like you work for a decent-sized company. That you did. Take a look at our corporate tax rates. The bigger companies are those 10% in Wisconsin or the 20% in America. Our corporate tax rate, when it's 35 federal, 39 when you throw state on top of it. We're the second highest in the industrialized world. Japan's beginning to lower theirs. All these other countries are in the midst of lowering their tax rates. Here's the problem. We tax ourselves, our businesses, a whole lot more than our foreign competitors tax theirs. And if our companies make money overseas, they pay that tax, that lower tax that's made over there, but when they bring the money back to America, then they have to pay a U.S. tax on top of it, so they never do that. And so we have this screwy tax law that basically says, if you're going to make something here and sell it overseas, and you sell it there, don't bring the money back, because you'll have to pay two taxes. You'll have to pay, the tax in Japan and then the American tax when you bring it back. We need to fix that. And this is an area where I really think we got a shot at bipartisan solutions. This is the one thing in this divided government that I'm desperately looking for is what can we get together with the President and the Senate on that we agree creates jobs. This is the one thing the President keeps saying that we completely agree with, which is the way we tax our businesses, these kinds of businesses is completely out of whack, it's uncompetitive. And so this is something that I feel like we have a shot at this year. whether it's through the select committee or something else, is let's make it pay for a company to stay here in America, to hire people in America, and if they do make some money overseas, because after all, 95% of the world's consumers are outside of this country, let's make it easy and worthwhile for them to bring that money back so that they don't have pressure to keep building more operations overseas. I've been trying to recruit a business to come to Kenosha for years to build a big park. They're building factories overseas because they're taxed at about 1/3 of the rate when they do that over there versus if they did it here. We've got to fix that. And so what it's doing is it's leading to more outsourcing. It's leading to, you know, interstate commerce and the internet. It's making it easier for you to outsource to engineers and computer scientists in India and elsewhere than to have those people here. So I would argue the way we tax ourselves is encouraging that kind of phenomenon. And the second answer to your question, I think, is we got to clean up that law, the visa system, so that it truly meets its spirit or its intent, which is this visa occurs if there isn't a local person who can actually do that job. Where are you, Vanessa? How about right in the middle of the aisle?